Okay, we're going to get started. We'll let other people jump on as they show up. Welcome. My name is Mary Ann Smith. I'm the nutrition educator here at the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. And this is Mondays with Mary Ann, where you're going to learn about recipes, nutrition, different types of foods that you can encourage your food bank participants to try and take home. So today is Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Wearing the red for heart health. And February is Heart Health Month. And so we're going to do a little bit of focus on that before we get started here. Every year, the American Heart Association has a different focus. And this year, it's about your blood pressure. Blood pressure actually is a big component of heart health. It actually, high blood pressure affects half of the population in the United States, which is huge. And so they make some recommendations on how you can help to have a healthy blood pressure. The first thing, of course, is a healthy diet. And of course, we're going to be showing you how to make a healthy recipe today. Of course, lowering the sodium and also increasing your potassium is really helpful when you're talking about having a healthy blood pressure. There's lots of foods that you can have that actually help with that. And here we have a chart actually showing how many milligrams of potassium are in different foods. When you think heart health and you think healthy blood pressure, think about white fruits and vegetables. The colors of vegetables actually show you the nutrient value that's in them. And so when people think about potassium, they think about grabbing a banana. But bananas are not actually the highest in potassium. There's others that are even higher. Avocados, pumpkins, lentils, mushrooms, cucumbers, white potatoes, they all are great sources of potassium, and potassium works in your body to actually reduce the sodium and lower your blood pressure. And so it's a really important component of being heart healthy. Maintaining a healthy weight is always important. Of course, everybody's weight's different, so check with your doctor, see what they recommend, but having a healthy weight is always going to be a positive. Having regular physical activity. I know it's cold out, but you can bundle up and you can get out there, you can walk. I was just cross-country skiing, which was amazing, and a lot of exercise. You can do things indoors like we dance, or find something that you like that you'll stick with and try for at least 30 minutes a day. Not smoking is critical to keeping your blood pressure in check. So if you haven't started, good for you. If not, don't start. And if you are smoking, work with a cessation program to maybe quit that. And also limiting alcohol use is really important for your blood pressure. A lot of people don't think about that, but it's another thing that you can think about that goes into raising your blood pressure. Blood pressure is treatable and it's preventable. So make sure that you get it checked. Actually, there's been some studies which are pretty eye-opening. Lots of people think they don't have to worry about high blood pressure until they're older, but young people from 20 years old to 44, 1 in 4 suffer from high blood pressure. That's pretty amazing. And it actually can lead to a lot of strokes in young people, which is why we're telling you to get it checked. It's also linked to dementia in older people. People from 44 to 66 who have untreated high blood pressure actually can develop dementia sooner, which is eye-opening. It's 1 in 3 aren't even aware that they have it. And so there's 4 people here. Somebody might have it and not even be aware of that. So check with your doctor at your next checkup. Also, it's a silent killer. It doesn't really, you don't feel any different. And so it can be very deceiving. You think you're feeling fine and you go to the doctor and they check your blood pressure and it's high and you say, well, how didn't I know that? That's because it really doesn't have any symptoms that you might notice. And also women who use birth control and African Americans are in a much higher risk for having high blood pressure. So talk to your doctor and try to maintain a healthy blood pressure for this Heart Health Month. All right, so we're going to also talk about some other things today and make a recipe. So I'm going to get that started. Today we're actually, as you can see, we have lots of different peppers here. If you love hot, today's the day for you. Not my thing, but I will try to teach you about them.
Maria has a question.
Maria has a question. Maria.
I just wanted to say, well done. That's all. I was clapping. No question.
No question. Okay, great. Today we're actually going to make a white chicken chili because this month we celebrate Chili Day. There's a different day for every food on the market. And so this month we're going to celebrate chili, but not your regular red chili, which everybody's used to. Today we're going to make a white chicken chili, which is delicious. It's an easy dinner. You can make it, throw it in the crock pot, come home from work and have a nice, hot, healthy meal. And so today, that's what we're going to make here. So we're going to get started. I'm going to actually turn on my very cool in the Teaching Kitchen Surface stovetop. And here I like to buy whole chicken breasts, boneless, skinless chicken breasts, really healthy for you. I like to cut them up bite size and then put them in, separate them out, put them in so they're easier to deal with at the end of a long day. And so we have some white boneless, skinless chicken here. We have some garlic, which I actually grew myself. If you want to know more about that, talk to me. Garlic's really great for you, anti-inflammatory, really good for your immune system. So fresh garlic. We have a white onion, which I would garner to bed, has potassium in it since it is white. Some white cannelli beans, which according to the label have 8% of your potassium for the day, not something you normally think about. Some chicken broth, and then we have some seasonings, and that recipe will be available after the show. So we'll get that to you. So we have our heat on here. We're going to use some nice olive oil, heart-healthy olive oil, about 2 tablespoons. And this is how I roll. I don't measure. Been cooking a long time, so I can actually do that. So we want that to get nice and hot before we chop up. Let's put our gloves on here, and I'm going to be touching hot peppers, so that's probably even more important. But we have lots of peppers here on the table. How many of you raise your hand if you like hot stuff? Anybody? No, only maybe. Yeah, I'm in the same. I like spice, but the hot's a little hard for me to handle. Woo! And that is a hot burner. So let's turn that down a little bit. Use this one. Turn that down a little bit. We're going to throw our chicken right in. About a pound of chicken there. Going to move that around a little bit. Of course, when we're adding a lot of beans, we can reduce the amount of meat that we put in different recipes. Make it a little even more heart healthy for you. Beans are a great source of protein. They're a cheap source of protein. They're one that you would want your clients to take from the food bank. And so the more recipes we provide, the more likely they are to use those things. Once they taste how delicious they can be, they are all over it. Give that a little stir. One thing about chicken breast, you don't want to overcook it. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of make sure that gets brown on all the sides before we add the other things and the broth. Of course, when you're cooking, you always want to make sure you have a flat surface. So anything round, you're going to want to cut in half so that you don't have an accident and cut off maybe an appendage. We have white onions. And a good way to save these, if you happen to get a lot of them at the food bank, is to chop them and freeze them. And then you can use them in any type of cooked recipe. Sometimes people feel a little overwhelmed if they get a whole bag of onions and don't think they're going to use them, but it's great to put some of those things in the freezer and then they're chopped, they're ready to use. And put that in there, turn it down a little more. Smells good. Nellie says it smells good. I love onions. Onions are really, really good for you. I always say the more the better.
Now, would you only use white onions? Could you use yellow? Could you use purple?
You could use any kind of onion in that. Actually, red onions are usually used more raw just because when you use them cooked, they kind of get kind of a brownish color. They kind of lose their appeal. But you really could use any type of onion. So we're going to put that in. With a little stir, that's looking good. Of course, onions add a lot of flavor. And of course, since we want to make this heart healthy, there is no salt in the recipe. So we need to pack a punch. There's usually 3 things that will add flavor to anything that's cooked. And that is either salt, fat, or sugar. So those are the 3 things that if they cut one out of a recipe, they're usually adding something else in to make up for that lack of taste. So just be aware of that when you're buying things that maybe are fat-free or sugar-free. But also look for sodium-free type items. So we're going to put this garlic in. We have about 2 cloves of fresh garlic. You could use garlic powder. You know, you can substitute, and this always tastes good. I've used both in making this recipe before. If you have dry, use dry. If you have fresh, use fresh. And garlic also freezes really well. I actually, I grow enough for a year. And what I do is I peel it and then I put it in little Ziploc baggies and keep it in my fridge. And then I just microwave it for about 10 seconds and chop it. It's just like fresh. So if you happen to get some, because sometimes it will actually, if you keep it too long, will kind of just disappear inside the clove. It'll just turn to nothing. So want to make sure you do that. So we have onions, chicken. Oh, it does look good in here. Just going to let those onions sweat until they turn translucent. How's that look? Oh, too bad you don't have smell-o-vision. That's great. Okay, so we have those first 3 in there. We're going to let that cook a little bit. And we're going to talk about the peppers because we're actually going to add some fresh peppers for today's recipe. Okay. Peppers themselves, we get a lot of them through the food bank, a lot of different shapes, a lot of different sizes, as you can see from the little skinny ties to the beautiful, sweet mini peppers that you might eat in your lunch someday. And so sometimes people maybe know them from their culture. Sometimes maybe they're not familiar with them. But if we educate them, then they are more likely to take them. You can always cut up peppers ahead of time and you can freeze them easily if you're going to use them in a cooked dish. It really doesn't change the texture much because when you cook things, they tend to get soft anyway. And so peppers are actually one of the oldest vegetables. They're about 6,000 years old. They actually come from Central and South America originally. And they were probably the first plant that was domesticated. And so ones that people would want to grow in their garden. There's over 140 kinds that grow in Mexico alone, but there are thousands and there's always new ones being engineered, either for heat or for taste or for size. And so there's only 5 domesticated varieties though, which is kind of interesting, but lots within those varieties. What's great about them is that we can taste the hot, but birds can't. And that's how they are spread all around the world. Birds actually don't taste the hot. And so they actually don't even digest them. What they do is they eat them, they fly over and they leave them wherever they want. And so that's how we've gotten so many all over the world. But it's all about the heat. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about that. The chicken looks good. One of the best things I learned through this job was to use a meat thermometer if you're cooking chicken breasts, like on the grill or on the stovetop, because so many times we overcook chicken and it gets really tough, especially if you're cooking chicken that doesn't have a lot of fat with it, like a boneless, skinless breast. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put in our chicken broth now. It's going to be our base for this soup. And this doesn't have to cook real long either. This is a pretty fast recipe. You can probably make it in about a half an hour from start to finish. It doesn't need a lot of simmering time or anything like that. And so I'm just going to put this whole thing of chicken broth in. And remember, the chicken bouillon that you use tends to be very salty. There are low salt varieties, but if you have chicken bouillon, you can use that. A lot of times I don't have this available at home, and so I'll use chicken bouillon, but then you need to be real careful with your recipe that you're not really jacking up the sodium content. Okay, so we have that in there. Then we're going to take our cannelli beans, which are white kidney beans. We're going to drain them, of course, because they come in that like thick liquid. And what we want to do is we actually want to mash one of the cans. If you can see this, we're going to mash these. And what this will do is this will thicken our soup without adding any flour or cornstarch or anything like that. It'll give it a really good thickness to it. And the longer you cook it, actually, the more the beans cook down anyway. This isn't my mother's potato masher. So we're going to just put them down, and then you can see it kind of becomes like a very thick, starchy looking conglomeration. Okay, and then I'm also going to drain these other two cans. Of course, dried beans are a big item through the food bank, one that we really want to encourage our clients to take because they are such a good protein source and you can do so many things with them. And so we're just going to get that liquid out of there. A lot of times I'll rinse them also, but today I'm just going to leave it in because that makes it a little thicker when you have a little bit of that liquid that they already put in there. So we're going to just take this over. We're just going to put those right into our soup. And we're going to stir those in. And it's white. It needs some color. So I am looking at some colorful peppers to add to that. But there you go. There is our soup with the onions, the garlic, the cannelli beans, chicken, a tiny bit of olive oil for a fat. And so that looks good. We're going to turn that up a little bit. Let that cook up a little bit. So now we're going to talk about our peppers. Peppers a lot of times can be very hot. But what happens is it's not your taste buds that are tasting the hot. It's actually heat sensor receptors in your mouth. So they're spicy, but spicy isn't a taste like sweet, sour, salty, or savory, or umami. And so it's a whole different thing when you have a pepper. What's in these peppers that makes them really hot is capsaicin. That is an alkaloid that's actually found in peppers that give it the heat. And so many, many years ago, there was a man who actually came up with a way to gauge how hot peppers are. And his name was Wilbur Scoville, and he was a pharmacist. And what he did was invented a standard measurement for you to know which of these peppers you think you could handle, okay? And so what he did was he would have people try the pepper because the best way to tell how hot they were was by individuals tasting them. And that lasted for a long time. And then, of course, scientists said, that's ridiculous. We need something a little more scientific. And so now they do actually do it by machine, by watering down peppers, and it pulls out different information. But for a long time, the Scoville scale, which they still use, is what's used to determine peppers. And so you can look these up online. If you're not sure, you can actually find from the least to the most capsaicin in a pepper. And so here we have on my right, your left, the least capsaicin in a pepper is found in a bell pepper. Okay, these are basically zero. These have no heat to them, but they're delicious. I eat a lot of them. They're really great in all kinds of things. Actually, they're pretty much the same pepper, only this one's much riper, okay? They actually go through stages, green, yellow, red, and now they have varieties that go right to red or right to yellow. I've grown them. They're not quite as nice as the nice bell peppers that turn red. So you can't really improve much, you know, on that. So those are actually what would be considered a 0 on the Scoville scale. Then we have these sweet minis, which come in beautiful colors. Just lovely. These are great for snacking, but these also don't have much capsaicin in them. And so they would be a sweet pepper on the Scoville scale. Then we move to one, which is actually called a shishito. Nellie went out and grabbed all these peppers for me. I'm not a pepper girl. I had to do some research. And so shishitos, even though they look like they might be a hot pepper, are pretty mild. And so I think we'll put some of those into our chili today because they look really good. In fact, I think I'll take a couple of those and chop them up right now so that they can go in here. Turn my heat down because I got a bubbling going on. Anybody who's ever used a flat top stove knows the dilemma of how hot they get. Okay, so when we cut them open, of course, we see the seeds in there. How many think the seeds are where all the heat is? Raise your hand if you think the seeds are where the heat is. You're all wrong. It's actually not the seeds. It's actually the membrane of the plant. And so actually, a lot of times people will keep the seeds in there, but it's actually near the top of the pepper where the cap is, where the most capsaicin is, but it's also in the membrane itself of the pepper, not necessarily in the seeds. The seeds can be hot, but they're not as hot as the membrane. And so we're going to put a couple of these in. I'm going to leave a couple seeds since I just told you that, just to prove my point that it's not going to burn you. We'll see at lunchtime how that goes. But peppers have a lot of really good things about them. They actually release endorphins when you eat them. Endorphins are those things in your brain that make you feel good. I might have to start eating hot peppers. Everybody wants endorphins. Usually we head for the chocolate, but now we can head for the peppers. So they actually can release endorphins. I'm just going to drop these in there and they will cook along with that. We'll see how hot these are, not very, but they'll give it some nice flavor. Peppers actually also help you to unblock your sinuses. How many have ever eaten something that was hot and spicy and your nose started running? You might have gotten hot and sweaty, and that's because it actually thins the mucus in your head, okay? And so they're really good if you have a cold and you're all blocked up, have a pepper. It can help to kind of relieve some of that.
Is that the 1 in 10 that's hot?
Not this one. Ah, yes, Nellie reminded me. Interesting fact about these shishito peppers. 1 out of every 10 that you buy is hot. The rest are mild. That's just how they grow. And I don't know how you tell which one is hot. But it's kind of a gamble. So maybe we gotta have a hot one in here. I don't know. But a lot of times it depends on where they're grown. You know, how much water they've received while they've grown. So there is a lot of variety, even in the Scoville scale. Some of them are actually like our shishitos go from anywhere from 100 to 1,000 on the scale. That's a lot of variety in heat, but they're still way, way milder than some of these other peppers we're going to look at. And so really interesting. People who know peppers love peppers. Like Miss Nellie. So we're going to put some more of those in. Oh, she thinks that's the hot one. Oh, she's trying one. That's good. Okay. Just kidding. Just kidding. That was a mild one. Okay. Peppers also have lots of vitamin C. In fact, they have more vitamin C than an orange. Who would have thought? Okay. So if you're including peppers, a lot of peppers in your diet, you're going to be receiving enough vitamin C for your diet. Oh, I like the way that looks, but I want an orange one in there too. So I might have to put in
Habanero.
A habanero, I don't know about the habaneros. Actually, peppers have 107 milligrams of vitamin C as opposed to an orange that only has 57. So it has twice as much vitamin C as even an orange. Okay, so if you eat a pepper and it's too hot, like Nellie just didn't, but I'm gonna have her eat a habanero, what do you think that you should take to cool that down? Anybody have an idea?
Milk.
I heard milk,
Bread.
bread,
I got nothing.
no idea. You got, Nellie has nothing. Actually, it is. It's something that's fat soluble. So a lot of different ethnicities use things like yogurt with a lot of hot peppers or milk to kind of tone that heat down. We're going to turn this heat down too because it looks pretty high on there. And so if you have, you're not going to want to put water in your mouth because that's just going to amplify that heat. Okay, you're going to want to cool it down with something that has a lot of fat in it. So milk is the thing that you want to make sure that you're drinking. Actually, peppers are also anti-inflammatory. And talking about heart disease, people who have low HDL or good cholesterol can still have high cholesterol, but actually peppers help that. And so they're actually a good anti-inflammatory and good for people with heart disease. They actually can be used to stop bleeding. I actually have friends who are herbalists and people who like to do natural types of things. And a lot of times they would put hot pepper powder on an open cut. Of course, it might sting a little bit, but it actually helps to stop the bleeding, which is really interesting. It actually increases your thermogenics or your metabolism. When you eat hot peppers, it kind of raises your metabolism, it kind of wakes it up. And so if you want to get a little bit higher metabolism, incorporate a few of these in your diet, okay? It actually can help lower, it's gone. She's going for the low, she's going to get fit, I can tell. They actually can also lower your appetite, which I'm all about because I'm always hungry, or I think I am anyway, okay? So this is looking pretty good in there. They actually have used it for pain medication, which is really interesting. They actually have patches out that actually have some capsaicin in them, and that actually can help with some pain management. And they're also used at the very high end of the Scoville scale, the real strong stuff, as pepper spray, whether it's used by a police officer or a nature buff who's out where the bears are. So pepper spray is really high up there with capsaicin. And it's actually really, I think 94% effective against bears because basically it blinds them and then they don't know where you are, I think. Okay, so lots of cool things about them. We're going to probably put another pepper in here for this. We'll put a little red in there. This will be a sweet pepper. Nellie's ringing here on my computer. Put in some sweet red peppers because of course we know that different colors, we want to eat a rainbow all the time if we can. And so we're going to put in a little bit of red pepper here, also will be a little sweeter. And of course, always wear gloves when you're working with peppers because you don't want to touch your eye or anything like that when you're working with peppers because they really can be quite an irritant. And so we put that red one in there. So I might even put a yellow one in there. It's looking pretty here. Looking way better. Okay. So we got some nice soup going on there. All right. So working our way down. So we had our shishitos 1 in 10, hot, the rest pretty mild. Then we have the poblano. The poblano is about 1,000 to 1,500. Very close to the cubanelle, okay, which is this light green one here that looks kind of like a skinny bell pepper, his cousin, okay. That's also considered a mild pepper. Then we have the banana peppers. And when I saw this come in, I'm like, they're not even hot, I've grown them. Well, there's hot banana peppers and not hot banana peppers. So make sure you know before you use it. And they actually will, as a gardener, I know that they do cross-pollinate. So if you have them close together, you can end up with peppers that are going to be way hotter than you thought if you don't keep them separated in your garden. And so that's a little tip from the former master gardener. Okay. Now we're working our way up until something really, really hot. The ties. Should I put one of these in, Nels?
Yes.
Nellie says put one in. Put one in the pot. These Thai peppers are very small, but they pack a mean punch. They're 50,000 to 100,000 on the Scoville scale. Okay, so from 0 of our green pepper to 50,000 to 100,000. That's quite an increase. Okay, so now we're getting into the what they would consider medium peppers. I would consider them ridiculously hot. Okay, but actually, and which one do you think has more capsaicin in it? Do you think it's the green or the red?
The red.
Red?
Right.
Red?
Red.
I'll go green.
Go green?
Come on, Amanda. Who are you?
Okay, what's our tiebreaker say?
Red.
Is the red. Actually, usually the red ones are a little more mature, just like our bell peppers. They actually go through that process of from green to red, and they actually do store more capsaicin as they get ripe. And so we're going to actually add one of each for Nellie. If I can't eat lunch, this is why. I'll try that. You're going to try a little? Okay.
For the ratings and for you guys, I would
Okay.
try a bite.
We're going to see. We're going to give you a bite of green. Okay.
I can feel it.
You can feel it. Okay. I can feel, ooh. Oh, wait. Show them that face. Ooh. Oh, wait. Here, let's try the red. Maybe we don't want to put it in our chili today. Oh, it's good. It's good. I'll cut up the green one. I think the red one's
Woo.
going by the wayside.
That's sweeter.
It's sweeter, but
And
it's
hot.
and hotter. Sweeter and hotter. Okay, so we're only going to do one of those little ones in this chili. Oh, she's a hot mess. She's a hotter mess now. Now she's looking for some milk. Oh, some honey, something to drink, something with fat, Nels. So we put in one of those Thai.
I got the hiccups.
Peppers store really well in your fridge too. So if you have to buy a package, like this was one package of Thai peppers, nobody's going to use them all in one day, I wouldn't think. So what you can do is you can store them in your refrigerator for weeks, or like I said before, you can freeze them and then chop them up later. Okay. Then we have our
Marianne, how long?
Yes, question.
How long will they stay in the freezer?
It was in the freezer, probably 6 months. I mean, I've had them longer than that. I would say 6 months for the best taste. And then after that, they deteriorate a little bit, but they're still spicy.
Okay.
Basically, it's more a texture issue than anything when you freeze peppers. So then we have the
Thank you.
jalapenos. Oh, wait,
Yeah, I would take
somebody switched them around. It was me. Actually, these are not as hot as the Thai, the jalapenos. They're a step down from the Thai. They actually have 2,500 to 8,000. So they're a big step down. So let's slide them
Yeah.
over. Oh, I see. I jumped right up there. I didn't even give you a jalapeno to warm you up.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think we'll put a jalapeno in there. A lot of people are very familiar with these because they're about a medium heat, not super, super hot. But definitely have a little bit of zip to them. I'm afraid now with that other one in there, it's going to be super hot. But these are really good. A lot of people like to stuff these with something like cream cheese or something like that. And I can see why, because that fat would kind of tone it down. Also, when you roast them, Nellie, do they get sweeter? Do they get hotter?
They don't get hotter.
They don't get hotter.
I like the way they taste roasted better than I do
Okay,
deep fried.
so roasted is good. I've had these before. Poppers, I guess they call them, when you stuff them with cream cheese and some things like that. And so that might be a nice. We're only going to do about half of this because I'm a little.
I made the mistake of cutting them without gloves once.
Ah,
I had to soak my hands in milk for the next couple hours. It hurts
Oh,
so
wow.
bad.
okay, then I'm glad I'm wearing them.
Don't rub your
You're
eyes.
good.
Don't touch your face or rub your eyes. Okay, I think it's time for us to put the spices into our soup. It actually calls for a measuring spoon.
Okay.
I'm just gonna guess through 2 teaspoons. Okay, of cumin. Cumin gives that good chili kind of flavor to that. Let's see how good I'm at. I don't think there's a teaspoon. Oh, there we go. Hey, perfect. I had that one up good. So we have 2 teaspoons of cumin. That gives it that traditional chili taste. It's what's in taco seasoning that my husband doesn't like. But it's really good. It gives it kind of a background, a nice background, kind of smoky taste to it. I'll start with that little, this is looking pretty nice. Okay, we also have over here some crushed red pepper, which we're not going to put in since we put in all those regular peppers. But if you don't have fresh peppers, you can always use a dried version. Just remember, they're twice as hot because they're compacted. There's all the moisture's been drawn out of them. And so be a little less liberal with your dried spices than your fresh spices. Also, paprika, one we didn't talk about. This is actually considered a hot pepper. And if you put a lot on, it actually does add some heat to your dish. But if you're just sprinkling a little bit on for like a decoration, it actually doesn't add much spice. So it's more in how much you use of paprika. We're also going to put in some oregano. And the recipe calls for cayenne pepper, which I think we've already fulfilled that role, okay? By those. Yes, we're going to put in a little bit of this. And that's the spices you have. And of course, this would be a low sodium dish since we didn't add any salt. You could always add that at the table. And actually, table salt that you use at the table accounts for less than 10% of your daily intake of sodium. So don't be afraid to salt things more at the table than you are when you're cooking them, because that way people can, have what they want. And also, it's a lot less usually. Okay, that's looking good. We're going to let that cook a little while. Any questions up to this point?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. All right. So we're going to keep moving on. So we had our jalapenos, and we figured out those ties are big, even though they're smaller, they're mightier. Remember that. Okay. And then we move on to these. They're called hot long green peppers. We're not real sure what they are. That's all Giant called them. We're hot green peppers, but usually the long and skinnier ones are usually a lot hotter. As you can see, they get smaller. They seem to get a little more wrinkled as we're going up here in size. And so that's kind of a good try. A lot of stores that carry ethnic foods usually have a great selection of these types of peppers, as opposed to the regular, even though the regular grocery store is now getting much more in, since we have access to the whole world of food. And here at the food bank, we also get things in from everywhere. And so really important to know that. And then the last hottest one we have here today, anybody know what it is? Habanero. That's a habanero pepper. And they are actually pretty high up there. Our Thai peppers were 50,000 to 100,000. These habaneros go from 100 to 350,000 Scoville units.
All right, I'll do it.
She's doing it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
She wanted to do it so bad, but now she's not. And I certainly am not doing that. But the habaneros are pretty hot, but they are not the hottest pepper out there. In fact, they are always trying to revamp and get some new ones out there. But the hottest one in the Guinness Book of Records is the Carolina Reaper. It sounds dangerous, right? Sounds dangerous. California Reapers, 1,400,000 to 2,200,000 Scoville units. Blow your head off right there, blow your head off. Until they came up with Dragon Breath, which is now in competition with the California Reaper for the hottest pepper available to man. In fact, it hasn't been approved yet because no one has lived who has tried it. Only kidding. Only kidding. And so they're out there. There are people who love peppers. I don't know how they do it. I just don't have the taste buds to be able to handle super hot stuff. I just think some people can handle it and some people can't. You can improve your ability to eat peppers, which is really kind of cool. And so I think that's really great. But a whole plethora of peppers here today. Feel the heat, feel the love on Valentine's Day. So we have white chicken chili, and now I have a quiz for you. Are you ready? You are gonna give me.
Can you all see? Can they see it?
Can you see the quiz? Okay. All right. Number one. Is that where we're at now?
Yep.
Okay. The scale used to measure the hotness of chili peppers is called what? Give me your answers. Are they typing it in or are they
Yeah,
saying it?
sure. Yeah.
Go ahead, type it in. Type in your answer.
It'll work. All right. Try number two.
Number two. What explorer brought chili peppers from Europe to the Americas? We didn't talk about it, but come on. You know a few of the famous ones.
Which spicy pepper?
Which spicy pepper is the dried version of a red jalapeno? What do you think? It's not one we talked about today, but you would know the name from eating in a restaurant. What is the hottest part of a chili pepper? Don't write seeds. I don't think we have that question. We don't? Oh, I don't know how you don't have it. Oh, okay.
What is the hottest pepper?
What is the hottest pepper currently known to man?
Number five.
Your mouth is on fire from eating too many chili peppers. What drink will you grab?
Next.
What is the least spicy pepper on the Scoville scale? Chili peppers are related to some other vegetables like tomatoes and potatoes. What family of vegetables is this? What a hard one. Any gardeners out there? And last but not least, jalapeno peppers are named after a city where? Jalapeno.
We're going to end the poll. Not really sure how this. There we go. Let's see.
So how'd we do?
I don't know.
Anybody think they got 10 out of 10? No, that's a no. Neither would I before I did this. Should we go over the answers now?
Sure. Yep. Go over the answer.
Okay, so what is that scale called? Anybody?
The
The
Scoville.
The Scoville scale, yeah. What explorer do you think brought those peppers to our country?
Who put
Columbus?
Nellie?
I put Columbus.
Columbus is correct, Christopher Columbus.
Who put Nellie Stinson? I know where you
Laura.
sit.
Which spicy pepper is the dried version of a red jalapeno? Also named for a restaurant. Chipotle. Oh, they missed it. Okay. What's the hottest part of a pepper? If you don't know anything else, you know this now.
The membrane.
A membrane, right. The actual part of the pepper that that wall of it. The hottest pepper is called?
Carolina Reaper.
Sure is. Stay away from. We're all going to stay away from those. Okay, your mouth's on fire. What are you going to grab to drink?
Not juice.
Not juice. That would be milk, right? We're going to drink some milk to try to get the fat soluble down there to work on that. The least spicy pepper?
Bell.
A bell pepper, right. A green or a red bell pepper would have none. Chili peppers are in what gardening family? Anybody know?
They said nightshades.
Nightshade.
Way to go. Good job, nightshades. And jalapenos are named after a city in
Mexico.
Mexico is correct. Good job, guys. You did great. All right, so I actually have a little poem to close out today. Here we go. I ate a chili pepper on a lunchtime dare. Nellie said I'd burn my mouth, but I didn't care. I ate that chili pepper, left not a seed to waste, and won that truly silly bet and lost my sense of taste. Thanks for coming today, everybody. It was great to see you. Here we go.
Thank you so much.
Oh, we have a question. We have a
Oh,
question.
we have a question.
Laura.
Oh, no, that was the hands clapping.
Oh, yeah.
We have. Yeah, put it to the. Miss Nellie's going to show us what we got here. We have a beautiful white chicken chili.
Ooh, very nice.
It smells lovely, lovely, lovely. All right. Well,
Very
thanks,
good.
everybody.
Thank you,
See
everyone.
you next week.
Thank you. Thank you.